after the war, I dreamt a lot about it. Even now, sometimes I go through over and over again. I still do. Thousands killed in one day. You can't sympathise like they could with just one or two. You can't spread your sympathy over that lot. I had a lovely lot of lads. They were all killed. There were so many of them with no known graves. That's why you don't know what happened to them. But they were destroyed. My native village of East Peckham, there were only about 2,000 people in the whole village. And on the Great War Memorial Stone, there are 42 names, my schoolmates, my pals, my generation. Some of the names I already half forget.
Caterpillar Valley, that contains over 5,000 graves. 5,000 graves. Oh dear, dear, dear. Talk about a lump in your throat. It's devastating to see 5,000 of these men, all ranging from about 18 to late 20s. Faire connaissance de mes amis. Tous sur les trompettes pour signaler l'arrivée de Monsieur le Président. My name is Tom Bromley. On the 1st of July 1916, I was on the Somme as a lorry driver. And I remember all those events very vividly. I am now 94 and nearing the end. Hello, Arnaud.
La 5e génération.
La 5e génération, Arnaud. People tell me that I'm always saying it's my last visit, but there you are. I don't know. I'm lucky. I'm lucky to survive, as I realise it. But I have a feeling, you know, this can't go on forever. The calendar says not.
Ça va?
Oui, ici, la grande dame de l'ordre du cacao. I've been back to the Somme area again and again over the years, visiting the places and seeing the people. Le plus jeune. Everything's so peaceful now.
Those who survived are haunted by this place. It was here 75 years ago they fought the Battle of the Somme. On the first day alone, 21,000 men were killed. Within 5 months, that number had risen to 1.25 million.
My name is Alf Rizal. I was at the Battle of the Somme in July 1916. I was wounded in the jaw. I am now 94 years old. We were always hearing about der Tag, the day, when Germans were going to obviously attack us. I remember marching round the West End with the crowds, just for the excitement of it. My name is Mr. Sid Lovell, and I was born in Tring, Hertfordshire. I went over the top twice in the Battle of the Somme, and I'm now 97 years old. Everybody was joining up, well, all the young men. There's a recruiting office in Aylesbury. I had a short medical, and
I was told to go over for 2 days and report back.
My name is Donald Hodge. I was at the Battle of the Somme in 1916 when there were 1.5 million casualties, and I am now in my 97th year.
How young we were, and strong of heart. Each one a volunteer right from the start. So over the top objectives to take. Sometimes we did, sometimes not. But only those who were there knew it was bloody and hot.
We had a terrific artillery barrage that went on for more than a week, night and day. They were wheeled.
Our drivers were working around the clock, literally around the clock, to keep up with the demands for the ammunition on the guns.
They was pounding the front trenches for a whole fortnight, as hard as they could fire, all the artillery.
Our guns were throwing the stuff out at the Germans, the idea being to destroy the German position.
All going to be over in a day or two, they said. Well, that's what the brains thought.
We were told that after such a bombardment, there'd be nothing living. It would be a walkover. We knew there was sudden death lurking around the corner, as it were, but we simply felt that we had to go on with it, and we'd been told that this would be the great breakthrough.
We marched up the Albert Bapu Road at night time. Up there, the front line, there was bodies all there, as you could see. See the bodies, like a flock of sheep laying there, all dead. And the engineers had laid a white tape almost halfway across for us to line up on. Everything was quiet. Yeah, for a time. So we lined up on the tape and we got 4 minutes to wait until our barrage started, which was air 0. We were all lined up, waiting to 0. Up goes the flares, all the flares go up. All bright as day. And the Germans opened out with everything they got.
Artillery was the big killer.
It was very frightening, I can tell you. But on the other hand, we were there to do a job.
Just before we went over, the Germans played their machine guns along our parapets.
Looking back over their lines, you could see the pinpoints and the machine guns were going everything.
I know I dashed up the assault ladders full speed because I wanted to be shot in the leg, not in the head.
I could see people rise up and start going forward, which I was one of.
There was a machine gun in front of Marmot's village that was just mowing all the troops down on over open ground.
Just slaughter, it was slaughter, I mean.
Also a lot of casualties, stretcher bearers, stretcher bearers. The casualties we suffered before we could do anything. And he was screaming off. Terrible screams.
The next day, we had to take empty sandbags and collect the pay books of our dead. As you rolled each man over to get at his breast pocket, of course, you could see why he was dead, how he'd been killed. All the horror of war was in front of us there because there were empty brain cavities, men with half faces, men without limbs, and we were walking in intestines from the people who'd been disemboweled.
The dead were splattered about all down that trench, every few yards, still laying there. There was one particular, three of our chaps had just got onto the top and going over. For some reason they'd been hit with a machine gun and they were still in their firing position, still there. Partially, they never collapsed. A strange, hairy sight. How long did they remain like that? I don't know.
That day has been registered on my mind all my life. The day we went to collect the pay books of our dead comrades at our villas. I couldn't help thinking that these poor relics that were lying there, a couple of days before, they'd been happy-go-lucky, laughing, joking comrades. Now they were here. I must admit that for quite a time, although we were hardened by this time, I was hardened, I was quite depressed. We took the roll call the next day as the information came in, and we discovered that the colonel had been killed, the adjutant had been killed, all 4 company captains had been killed, every other officer had either been killed or wounded, none came back. There was 1 corporal, that was myself, 1 lance corporal, and 63 privates. These terrible casualties were not unique to our battalion. There were dozens of regiments who were in the same boat at the Battle of the Somme.
I couldn't bring myself to unconsciously to think that why a God should permit all those terrible things, not only to our own nation, but to others. If there is a God supposed to work miracles, well, that's where he starts wondering. I know the religion's got its place in the world today, such as births, marriages, deaths, and all that. But I don't think there's a God that can control anything as regards the feelings of man to man.
A friend and I were on fire step duty half an hour before dawn, and he was beside me on the trench, and he said, well, I'll take one last look, and he put his head above the parapet, and he was shot straight through the forehead, and his body and his brains fell into the bottom of the trench. That was a most severe shock for me, but it was one I had to survive. The first of many. I mean, we were all in the same boat together. If it was not him, it was me. That's all there is to it.
The place was full of troops, ammunition, horses, everything you could think of, all around here. And the shells were coming over from Contalmaison over there. And we were unlucky. One came over Wallop there. And I marked where I was when my comrades alongside me were killed. On Sunday, the 9th of July, 1916, I was a corporal at that time, and I had charge of a lorry and 4 or 5 men.
Could only be at very worst a few yards
inside
the edge of the road now.
I'll tell you why. We were delivering ammunition by the roadside, not far away from the Marmetz railway station. It was a little narrow gauge line that ran along the road between Albert and Perron. And we were unloading the lorry to dump these cases of ammunition and shells by the roadside, when over comes a shell from a German shell from the direction of Contalmaison. Wallop, bang. Killed 4 men, and I was lucky, I escaped. Some were killed, some were wounded, some escaped. And I was lucky.
You're on your feet now, boyo.
The 4 men were buried by the roadside. Later, their bodies were exhumed and reinterred in the Danzig Alley Cemetery, which is just near Marmetz village itself. And I'll put a little cross on the roadside where it occurred. I've done that more than once.
naturally, he felt bitter because of the slaughter. But you realise that we were in this war and we just had to carry on.
Did you ever think about why it was that you survived?
I've thought about it. I've thought about it all the time. And I can never say why some person can survive and another one doesn't. I mean, at Villas, when our battalion was practically annihilated, I walked there 700 yards. There was a machine gun fire everywhere. And yet I walked through it unscathed. Why? I did hear from one of our men who was a farmer in England, and he said that there was one idea that he had. He said that when you were driving a horse-drawn reaper, reaping a field of corn, you would go all round the field, round and round, until it was finished. But even then, if you looked, there were, here and there was a stalk standing. And he thought that that's accounted for some survivors.
After heavy bombardment, I've seen great, strong, healthy men come down from the line, crying like children, terrified with obsessive fear.
There was quite a number of shell-shock victims. The explosions was close to them, was upset their brain, and they just went partly mad, clawing at their faces. Terrible.
We had one chap who threw himself on the ground and sort of had hysterics. He was just saying, we've got to go over, we've got to go over, we've got to go over. He was obviously terrified.
You're a wreck, a real wreck, really. And for a man to descend to those depths is far worse than death. Death is the end, mortally, but that went on and on, too often went on and on. All pride is gone, all humanity, really.
Did it ever occur to you not to go over?
You can't do that. In some instances, I no doubt there were Tommies that refused to do that, I don't know. But it was cowardice in face of the enemy, and you could get shot for that.
There was a 17-year-old in our brigade, and he left the trenches. He'd been out there, I believe, more than 6 months. And during the bombardment, he left the trenches. And of course, he was absolutely lost when you get behind. There's nowhere to go, nowhere to hide. Eventually, he was spotted by military police and brought in. He was charged with cowardice, leaving the trenches in the face of the enemy. I think that was how the charge was put. He was court-martialed and shot. He was 17 years of age. His own parents found out that this is what had happened to him, because normally he's just reported killed in action. And they had an inscription put on the bottom. They said that he was a good soldier and had at least done 6 months valiant service, and yet he was shot. Nowadays, they call that battle fatigue. It isn't cowardice, it's battle fatigue, but there were some 300 soldiers killed for the same reason during the First World War.
Whenever we got a little bit downhearted, somebody would strike up with a song, you see. I'm not in good voice at the moment, but there was one we used to sing, which was one of the less abrasive type. Wait till the sun shines, Nellie, and the clouds have drifted by. We shall be happy, Nellie, by and by. Over the hills we'll wander, sweetheart, you and I. Wait till the sun shines, Nellie, by and by.
The two things that have haunted me most are the Diado villas when I had to collect the pay books, and when I left Bill Hubbard in no man's land behind the German lines, obviously dying. I was picked up by the Germans and taken into their trench. And I had no sooner taken 2 or 3 steps down the trench when I heard, "Oh, hello, Raz, I'm glad to see you. This is my second night here." He said, "I'm feeling bad, and these so-and-sos, they haven't helped me a bit." And it was Bill Hubbard, one of the men we trained in England, one of the original battalion. I had a look at his wound, rolled him over, and I could see that it was probably a fatal wound. And I did the best I could for him. The Germans wouldn't help in any way. They were battle-worn and surly. There were no German officers there, which I asked for. I dressed him as best I could with a piece I cut from his shirt, because he had a huge wound in his back, his lower back. His intestines were exposed, and there was already dirt and chalk in the wound. You can imagine what pain he was in. He was dripping with sweat. And after I'd gone about 3 shell holes, traversed that, had there been a path or a road, I could have done better. He pummeled me, put me down, I'd rather die, put me down. I was hoping he would faint. He said, "I can't go any further, let me die." I said, "If I leave you here, Bill, you won't be found. Let's have another go." He said, "All right then." But the same thing happened. He couldn't stand it anymore, and the Germans were beginning to swear at me because I was delaying them. And I had to leave him there, in no man's land. Years later, I saw Bill Hubbard's name on the memorial to the missing at Arras. And when I saw his name, I was absolutely transfixed. Seeing it, it was as though he was now a human being instead of some sort of nightmarish memory that I'd had of leaving him all those years ago. And I felt relieved, and ever since then I've felt happier about it, because always before, whenever I thought of him, I was searching myself, was there something else that I could have done? And that always sort of worried me. But having seen him, and his name in the register, as you know, in the memorials, there's a little safe and there's a register in there with every name, and seeing his name and his name on the memorial, it sort of lightened my heart, if you like.
When was it that you saw his name written there?
When I was 87. That would be the year 1984.
Quand je fais visite au cimetière par ici, je me sens très triste. Et je me sens, what's a fraud? What's the French word for a fraud? Fraud. In memory of several comrades killed on the 9th of July 1916 alongside the Albert-Perron Road. Meilleur souvenir d'un vieux soldat. Corporal Tom R. Bromley, M2 073 941, Mechanical Transport Section, Army Service Corps. These four men are not buried together. They're in different parts of different plots, but in the same area of the cemetery. There's so many, you see, but they're all well recorded in the register. 4 of them. So there you are. And where's the 5th? The 5th is talking to you now. And he feels a bit of a fraud in having left the other 4 there. But that's the way it is.
They shall not grow old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not worry them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, we will remember them.
In my later years, I think how futile wars are. At the end of any war, people sit round a table and come to some settlement or conclusion. Why the dickens can't they sit round the table before it starts? These are just my own thoughts, of course. I've never heard anybody else talking about it, but I do regret when I've been to Germany and talked in my pidgin German to people we've met out there, and I think they're just the same as we are. And then it comes back to me, how many did I kill? How many widows did I make? Mothers losing their sons. And it's very depressing.
Nobody abominates the waste of war more than I do. But if that price has to be paid, I should be prepared to pay my part of it.
But how high can that price be?
I don't know. How high? How high can that price be? We said that we would serve, and we served. We said it would be for the duration. We didn't argue about our wages. We just offered ourselves. And a man can give no more than that. The price can be no higher than yourself. But if that price has to be paid, we should be willing to pay it. Call it patriotism, call it optimism, or what you like. It doesn't make any difference. It comes to every man and nation. Once to every man and nation comes the moment to decide for the truth or the falsehood. And I like to find myself on the side of truth. And I hope it's not self-deception.
He's a jolly good fellow, and so say all of us, and so say all of us, and so say all of us. For he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow.
I still think a lot about the Battle of the Somme. I go through over and over again. I still do. Those memories are still locked in there. I'll carry them to the grave, no doubt. You can't take them away.
Toys. I like playing with my toys.
What do they all do? What's the difference?
Well, the one down there, that's a turntable as well. That is two for dubbing. This is also for compact disc, and that's a portable for going anywhere. I lend these things to people who come. Life's never dull for me, because I've got so many good friends all around me. And don't forget, I've got a few lady friends that keep me interested, keep me alive. Mine are not as alive as they used to be. As I told you before, I'm one of the last of the dinosaurs. Well, you see, there's so few left from the First War. The others are all dead. I can't crawl away and die. People won't let me.
Have you got any ambitions left?
In what direction?
Any direction?
Only to keep on living as well as I can and avoid serious ill health. Physical deficiencies are a bit of a nuisance, or tend to get worse as the years go by. And I'm only hoping that they won't get too bad and I'll just gradually fade away. All soldiers never die, they simply fade away. End of stanza.